Well, time to dive on in. Hello, and welcome to Aquamagineering, the show where I, Tendo the Seal, discuss my thoughts and ideas for potential future attractions and changes to the parks. Square Enix, up there with Atlas, is debatably the biggest name in JRPGs. This company has been pumping out games taking place in intricate, lived-in worlds with long histories and stories since the late 80s, ones cherished and celebrated by audiences worldwide. And let me just say, those worlds deserve to be explored in an interactive, immersive environment like a theme park would provide. Who wouldn't want the potential to have an up-close and personal chocobo encounter? Or perhaps explore the destroyed apocalypse of Nier? There's a lot of possibilities for this company to step into the industry. And thus, that's our mission statement for today. To explore the possibilities of a Square Enix theme park and what can be done with the company's various franchises. As usual, here's the ground rules. Given just how many series from this company start off as spin-offs from other franchises, I will be separating spin-offs from their source material as their own franchises, just for the sake of not causing any confusion. My other ground rule is that these have to be franchises currently owned by Square Enix. So sadly, franchises that have been sold off like Deus Ex, Hitman, or Tomb Raider won't be eligible for this video. Sorry. But I will be allowing for acquisitions they still have their hands on. I will also allow for joint ventures that they have with other companies, so long as they still currently have a hand in them. And so, these are my ideas for how Square Enix could utilize their franchises in the theme park industry. Let's roll! Might as well get the obvious one in first. Can't talk about Square without talking about Final Fantasy. And if we're talking one ride to represent it all, it's just gotta be from 7. I know 6, 9, and 10 have major underground fan bases, and that 15 and 16 are really popular these days, but 7 is the eternal entry that will be forever hailed as a major gaming milestone that this series will be remembered for. But with how large and vast Final Fantasy VII's world is, what should be the ride system? As if you don't already know. It needs to be a bike coaster. I know that Final Fantasy already had a spinning VR coaster at Universal Japan, but come on, this game and its legacy deserves far more than a temporary VR overlay like that was. Also, I know the games are notorious for their airships, but the bike is a majorly iconic image from this entry, and a bike coaster themed around Final Fantasy VII would be an immediate eye-catch that gets everyone's attention if it would be announced. Put the coaster in a land themed to the upper areas of Midgar, where park tourists could dine, buy materia-themed jewelry and confectionery, shop for merch, a chocobo encounter, meet and greet, etc. And have the coaster be integrated into the landscape in a similar manner to Fly over at Phantasialand in Germany, interweaving throughout the land, jumping over pathways before returning to the alcoves and gullies between the streets. As for the story, there are multiple different directions you could take it, like a training mission for the Shinra Task Force, an Escape from Shinra experience, or maybe even theme it around a Mako Tower bombing run. Regardless, the high-speed, exhilarating visual of these bikes roaming the area, bobbing and weaving through a fully explorable Upper Midgar would be a breathtaking sight to see. And you know people would pay good money to do so. And for those of you saying this is somehow incorporate the Golden Saucer and build aspects of that, next year. And another entry with a large list of worlds and characters I'd need to pick from. Wonderful. So, which one am I going with? Well, given it's important to the franchise's history and just how beloved it is, we're going with 3. Now, I have been made aware of the existence of Dragon Quest Island, but that is mostly a roleplay destination similar to Evermore. And I think that given Dragon Quest's legacy, it deserves a full-on, special effect-ridden e-ticket experience. Even if Dragon Quest World is an insane experience, it just shows me so much more about this industry than I thought possible. Holy crap, do the research! I'm not even a Dragon Quest fan, but this place looks amazingly unique, and I want to go so bad! Oh my god! But the one issue with Dragon Quest is that it's not a very vehicle-prominent series. Most, if not all, travel in the games is done either on foot, boat, or the back of a creature. And while a boat ride would probably be the best option, I have a different idea. This would be an elaborate walkthrough attraction where guests enter into a mysterious dungeon led in by a tour guide. Within, you'll be faced with monster encounters, lore, visuals and tableaus, etc. Basically, think something similar to the cheesy wonder that was Poseidon's Fury at Islands of Adventure, but with a Dragon Quest theme. And you have yourself the perfect experience to represent this classic, if cheesy, little fantasy franchise. Yeah, surprisingly, Space Invaders is owned by Square, and has been ever since they bought out Taito. But now I get the feeling you're questioning just how to make this work. I mean, it's Space Invaders, an old retro game with barely any story, no characters, and basic gameplay, outside of that one entry we don't talk about. Well, this is one of those instances where the absolutely insane, crazy idea to make this work came to my head one day while conceptualizing this video, and I just couldn't get it out. The ride building will be themed to a giant, classic old Space Invaders cabinet, almost as if you're walking right into the game. The experience, though, will be a mix of Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where players enter into these small little Omnimover shooter cars from room to room, shooting at pixelated aliens just like in the game. The aliens, though, will be projected onto the walls in the environment using 2.5D projection. A simple idea, but really playing into the full pixel style retro game aesthetic, but in a full environment where you as the rider are traveling through. Talk about a unique experience that everyone would remember. This is another one that seems obvious to me with a ton of potential that would be interesting to explore, especially due to one particular area of the game that was in all of the advertising and ended up being quite memorable despite its small amount of screen time in the actual game. That's right, the theme park. Given this is a game that has a ton of joke endings and alternate takes, why not treat this as an alternate good ending timeline where Yorhan, the good robot that lived with Pascal, took back the park and refurbished it to work again, acting as a fun little safe haven in the apocalyptic wasteland. That is the land the guests would be exploring in this land. Put in a big action-packed stunt show into Simone's Theater, and I'd say you have an interesting, uniquely themed land to work with. An old beloved classic. This time-traveling adventure, while it has sadly been left dormant in recent years, was one of the most beloved JRPGs for years. But how would one translate it into a ride? Well, we do have the Epoch, a giant flying time machine to work with, so why not play with that concept? Have the ride set up in a similar manner to Smuggler's Run at Disneyland, but all 6 riders are side gunners, defending the Epoch from incoming attacks. Each ride will get their own small turret window screen, while there's also one big screen at the front of each ride car. The ride will travel to multiple different time periods throughout its run, with the riders in swivel chairs allow them to switch between looking ahead at the ride film and turning to the side for the gunning sections. While a unique ride system, I think we're at a point where technology would allow this to happen. It's time to make this time travel flying shooter a reality. I will always be a firm proponent of one aspect of theme park design. Every park should have at least one water ride designed to soak the guests. And for this project, that rule goes to Bravely Default, as I think with how prominent boats are in the first game, heck, even your airship is a boat, you can make this work. Set up the ride as it's supposed to be a voyage around the world of Luxembourg, seeing the world's many unique environments recreated in their splendor, from riding down the beautiful flowery canals of Florem to the dark, cold vibes of Eternia. However, just as the journey nears its end, the boat is pulled up towards the moon by the ball from Bravely Second, their disturbing visages adorning the walls as we rise up, only to be sent careening down a large final drop back into Cal Disla to end the ride, meeting up with some of the familiar characters of the series. This ride would make for a fun time, bringing this world to life while also representing both of the original games in some capacity. Plus, it gets my need for a water ride handled, so win-win. Okay, so at this one I'm a bit of a quandary, as the most iconic entry in this franchise to utilize it in the best light would be Just Cause 3. But given the weather machine aspect of Just Cause 4, it gives us a lot more overall potential to explore.
And we're going with 4, because that allows us to go nuts with what we have to work with.
And given the train escort missions in the game, it brought me to thinking, what if we treated this ride as if we were the passengers on one of those trains? Think about it. You board a train off to a safe house as citizens trying to escape the wrath of Espinosa, seemingly in a similar manner to the Hogwarts Express ride from Universal Orlando. Only for a battle to break out around the train, including a freaking tornado showing up due to the government's weather machines. This tornado sucks in the train off the tracks, turning the ride into a high-octane simulator experience, as Rico and the rebels fight off the soldiers to save the day, parachuting down over the mountainside as the train is slowly lowered. Only for an aerial dogfight to continue the conflict around us, new weather effects throwing the train across many locations from the icy mountains to the cities by the shoreline, eventually ending with Rico safely bringing the train down for a landing at its proper destination. Well, this would be an insane non-horror ghost train / simulator hybrid. I think the concept is more than doable and worth exploring, and definitely an eye catch to say the least. Given my Halloween special, you knew this one was coming. But this was a pretty tough ask, honestly, given the very limited location pool from the main series, not to mention just how absent vehicles are from the games, making it pretty difficult to find a ride system befitting the Reapers game. Well, this one may be a bit of a stretch, but I think I may have something fun and workable. Treat the riders as prospective Reapers, training to take on the job. As such, the riders are being trained to have a full understanding of the noise by stepping into one's shoes, entering into experience to see through the eyes of one particular type of noise, the Nafastraven. As a result, the experience is a flying simulator where riders see through the eyes of this one noise flying through Shibuya, encountering players, other noise, and the Reapers you're training under as you do so. While an odd choice, I mean, we never have really seen the Reapers take direct control of a noise before like this, but I think the concept is more than workable given the lore of the franchise, and it would give us one heck of a high-flying adventure through a day in the Reapers game.
And to end things off, as is slowly becoming customary, time to bring in a special guest. Today, let's give a warm welcome to the Review Reviewer!
Hello, I'm the Review Reviewer. You review it, I review you.
Yes, very nice. Reviewer here has been a big help on getting the word out about my show, mainly by doing multiple reviews of said show, even early on.
Glad to help, buddy. Especially since you paid me to do it.
Shh, not in front of the audience. Anyway, here's what we're talking about to end things off. While Kingdom Hearts is my favorite gaming franchise, I just knew that given your connections to the series, I just had to hand things off to you for this one.
While I haven't exactly been a Cage fan since the beginning, when I did finally get into it, I fell hard. While I can admit it's not perfect, I can't help but adore the character interactions, the story, and of course, the Disney pandering.
Anyway, so, you have an idea for Kingdom Hearts ride? Let's hear it.
Gladly. Okay, so I've actually got 2 ideas for a Kingdom Hearts attraction. The first was basically a Cage reskin of Star Tours, swapping out the Star Wars planets with Disney worlds. But I already made a video outlining that idea on my own channel a few years ago, and I don't feel like treading old water. The other idea I've had for a while is a dark ride based on the Disney Castle / Timeless River segment of Cage 2, essentially following its plot. Hear me out. First, the queue would be themed around Disney Castle itself. You could explore the various hallways, the audience chamber, the library, and all these areas would be filled with little Disney and Final Fantasy Easter eggs. And maybe a stray briar here and there. The line would eventually work its way through the courtyard into the gummy hangar. As you near the ride boarding area, you hear word from either, say, Jiminy or Merlin that Maleficent's darkness is taking over the castle. Upon boarding your potentially gummy ship-themed ride vehicle, you go down a secret passage that leads to the Hall of the Cornerstone. Along the way, you see various scenes of Sora, Donald, and Goofy fighting off Heartless, Maleficent proclaiming her evil, that sort of thing. Now, up to this point, the ride would be brought to life using the most bleeding-edge technology that the industry is capable of, Tokyo Disney level animatronics for our heroes, advanced Pepper's Ghost for Maleficent, all aboard a trackless ride vehicle. Essentially, if you've seen Rise of the Resistance at Disney, you get what I'm talking about. However, once you enter the time door to Timeless River, suddenly, we're going old school. I'm talking mostly static figures with limited movement, hand-painted cutouts for sets and certain characters, and at least the illusion of a semi-visible track before you. Basically, the Timeless River section of this ride should look like it came straight out of opening day Disneyland. But that would all be surface level. You can still add some fun stuff like spinning around at Mickey's house, bouncing at the construction yard, the feeling of floating on water next to Steamboat Willie, that sort of thing. And of course, you're welcome back to the present with fanfare from Sora and the Disney Castle residents. If nothing else, this concept can serve as a fun example of showing off how theme park technology has evolved over the years. But as I understand this might be a bit niche of an idea, I can also propose that the actual ride portion be replaced with a journey through multiple Disney worlds, including Timeless River, potentially imitating the ride systems of the ones that have rides in Disney parks, and replace Maleficent as the main threat with Xehanort. You know, like the games did.
Huh, fascinating. Really would show just how much the medium has evolved and the ways it can be explored. Anyway, thanks for coming, man.
Anytime.
Anyway, I relinquish all these ride concepts to Square Enix or any other park if they decide to build them. I would love to hear your thoughts on these ideas in the comments. Maybe add a few of your own ideas for Square Enix rides. Anyway, that's Aquamagineering, and I'll see you back on the surface.